course, is different. But is there a general rule of thumb?
There's been one. If you think of it as attack and response, the U.S. or our interests are attacked, and we respond. So go back and start with Pearl Harbor on December 7th. Well, in April of '42, Doolittle's raid was staged on Tokyo. That's when the S&P 500 bottomed in that particular month. Then in 1950, in June 1950, in Korea, the North Koreans came across the parallel. By July, we were landing troops in the Pusan perimeter. The market bottomed in July. Take it out a few more steps to Kuwait in 1990. By the time Desert Storm began, the market bottomed, sort of a double bottom, but basically that was the second bottom when it happened. And then finally the attack on the trade centers 12, 13 years ago. By the time we launched our offensive against Afghanistan, it was essentially in the market, and the market began to rally from there. So usually the market goes down on the attack, and then the concerns of what's going to happen. And fortunately, in the past, the four instances I use, the market bottomed coincident pretty much to the beginning of our response.
I'm going to come to the cases you mentioned. You talked about the market bottoming. We've seen an incredible rally.
Mm-hmm.
Is this going to be the catalyst for what some say is perhaps an overdue move lower for stocks?
It could be. Again, you can't say it won't, but I'd argue probably not. As I said, I don't think anyone really wants to escalate it. It's in no one's real interest to escalate it. We got to find ways out, perhaps. But I think underneath the headlines, beyond the waving hands and all that, things are slowly starting to get better in the U.S. And we worry about tapering. Well, I think she has a good point. The Fed's not going to taper if it's going to have an impact on the economy. Now, not that you can totally isolate or insulate it, but I think if they do taper, like they begin to inculcate us, so they begin to inoculate us to this sort of thing, I think they can pull out. Things are getting better.